unfortunately, I looked online afterwards, and you know, everyone seems to choose Mudkip. It's ridiculous. Meaning everyone has the same personality. Anyway, here we have a dream sequence because we rescued Magnemite and it's nighttime now. Where am I? Maybe this is a dream? Oh, there's someone here. Who is it? Someone I know? I can't remember. So anyway, there you go. I think I dreamt something. But I can't quite remember what the dream was about. Oh well, today's another day of rescues. Wonder if I have any mail. Better check the mailbox. Yeah, so your character is surprisingly okay with the whole situation that's going on. You know, turned into a completely different species and just sort of being forced to live out a life which, you know, you don't really know anything about. But I guess your character's just okay with that because I don't remember their human life. Anyway, so we've had our second dungeon. There's 13 dungeons in this game. 13 in total. 13 mandatory dungeons. There is one technically side dungeon. That isn't really mandatory, I don't think, but it is really... It's heavily implied that you should do it. Anyway, this is Pokemon Square. You're going to be going here a lot. Here's the two Kecleon brothers who sell you various things, and of course one of them's purple, which should have been the shiny, but I guess not. It's the Persian Bank, or the Felicity Bank, where Persian stores your money for you. It's Gulp and Link Shop, where you can link moves. I won't be doing that ever, really. It just means so you can attack twice in one turn, but that does mean you use up 2 PP. So, yeah, and your moves unlink when you finish, so... yeah. And this is the storage, run by Kangaskhan. So yeah, she is the MVP of the Pokemon Square. So yeah, and you want to store your items and money before, or stuff that you don't need before going into a dungeon. Because if you die in a dungeon, or if your team gets kicked out, essentially, then you lose all your items and money that you had on you, which can be terrible if you had a bunch of super useful items. So yeah, make sure you store stuff away because yeah, we're already out of inventory space. So, and the storage is infinite, by the way, so don't worry about running out of storage space. But yeah, I suggest having at least one Reviver Seed on hand, which ensures that if one of your party members dies, then they'll be instantly revived to full health and full PP. It does use up the seed though. So yeah, it's always just nice for insurance. It only takes up 1 slot. Later on I'd advise bringing, 2. Just because that's useful. Anyway, we got plenty of other Pokemon that we recognise here, like Snubbull, Lombre, Bellsprout. What else is the case? I'm thinking about this. Oh yeah, this game came out at the tail end of Gen 3. In Japan, at least, because 2006 is when Diamond and Pearl released, 2006 is when this game was released. And despite being from 2006, 2005, when, they just constantly kept teasing Gen 4 Pokemon and Gen 3 media, like the movies with Lucario and Munchlax and the anime and all that sort of stuff. There's none of that here. It's only Gen 3. Gen 1 to 3, I should say. Anyway, here's Whiscash, who's just sort of here, supposedly knows a lot, but we don't really talk to it often. So here we go to the Pelipper post office that we saw in the intro. And also, if you're thinking about, oh god, he's doing another RPG, this is gonna take forever, this game must be super long, right? No, the main story is only about 10 hours, which is pretty good. You know, after Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2, which were both 20 plus hour games. Not even including the side content, which is about 60 hours each. That's if we're including grinding. So, yeah, don't worry, I'm not doing another super long game. And besides, tomorrow, hang on, this is still episode 1? No, it's not still episode 1. So, what's name? You'll already know that Halo 2 is going up alongside this. So, yeah, we've got 2 different Let's Plays going at once, which I haven't done for an unreasonably long time. So I'd like to get more Let's Plays done while I can. Yeah, I figured that these 2 games are pretty different. You know, we've got a Pokemon game, we've got a Halo game, so yeah, that'd be good. Very different, at least. Yeah, this game should go for a few months, not too long. I shouldn't have any gaps where there's, you know, no episodes going up at least, at all really, so we should be okay. I would like to record Contra Hardcore as well very soon, just so I can get all of the big classic Contras out of the way. You know, not Contra 4, because I have Contra 4, but I haven't really played much of it. Anyway, I don't know why we're getting the explanation for a blast seed after we've already got one before, but so yeah, we went to the Pelipper post office in order to take a job on, you know, and that way we can head into the dungeon and do that job and get some rewards out of it. Now, unfortunately, this game, there's 2 instances in this game where the main story just halts, it just comes to a grinding halt, and it makes you do the randomly generated rescue missions, just until the plot decides to start up again. So, this is the first one. Yeah, we've only had 2 dungeons and it's already doing that. But luckily this won't happen again for until the end of the 11th dungeon. So, yeah, we've got quite a while to wait. Unfortunately though, when that does happen again, it will be quite a long time before we get back to the main story, because it's just padding. It's just very boring, and I hate when the game does it, and that's just the problem with its pacing. And at least it only happens twice, but still. It's only about 2 or 3 missions that we have to do here before the main story decides to progress again, so. Actually, I should probably go down the list of the starter Pokemon you can get. You can get any of the Gen 1, 2, and 3 starters, so Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, Totodile, and Trico, Torchic, and Mudkip. You can also end up with Pikachu, because of course you can. Don't know if that's it. I think you can end up with Eevee. Maybe. Yeah, I think you can. And I think there's also 2 that are exclusive to Red Rescue Team and 2 exclusive to Blue. I'm not sure what those are, but you know, you can search those up. Anyway, here's the client that we had to find. They just, essentially most of these are just, oh, I got lost in this dungeon, come to this floor, talk to me so that way I can get out of here, and just teleport out of here, so. But we're not done yet because we took on 2 missions in the same dungeon, so yeah, generally that's what I like to do, is I like to get 2 missions done at once. By just accepting 2 that are in the same dungeon, 2 or 3. You know, that way I don't have to do the whole go to a different dungeon and, you know, wait for the characters to go to sleep and go to Pokemon Square and all that. You know, I can just go straight to the next mission. So yeah, you also may notice the the amount of PP we have is weird, and also much less than what it normally should be. You're right, and there's a reason for that, but we haven't got the item that'll let us restore PP yet, because yeah, the dungeons are too long for us to just go through them in a round of PP. And I don't think we're going to find the item that lets us restore PP for a bit. Probably not till the next dungeon because, you know, these dungeons are so short that we don't need to restore PP really. Anyway, Thunderwave Cave has a lot of electric types, so not great for Squirtle, but luckily for us they don't really seem to use any electric moves, so Trico's here for insurance. We've still got to look for the client, wherever it may be. Yeah, so I've never actually... Oh, this is the client, but I didn't realize until, you know, I kept attacking. Anyway, what's the name? I've never actually played Blue Rescue Team. I've only played Red. When I was younger, I always had the Game Boy Advance version, which is fine by me because it's from what I've seen, it's the superior version. Oh, we're having 3 missions at once, okay. Yeah, to me it's the superior version, just because of purely because of the sound quality. The sound quality is just so much better in this version. And that's only because it was designed for the GBA. Anyway, we can't attack at the moment because we got paralyzed, so... It doesn't stop you from being able to move, it just stops you from attacking for a few turns, so... Yeah. But I do love how fast battles are in this, you know. Things are over quickly. So, you know, you can just get straight back to dungeon crawling. But, yeah, when it comes to, as I said with grass types earlier, a lot of dungeons in this game, their type theming really doesn't, really isn't good for grass types. You know, a lot of flying types, a lot of fire types, that sort of thing, a few ice types. So, yeah, it's, if you happen to get Bulbasaur, Trico, or Chikorita, that's fine. It's just, you know, you're gonna have naturally you're gonna have a tougher time than someone who gets, you know, a fire type starter. For example, water types are sort of the middle ground. You know, things aren't too bad. You know, they're not always in your favor, but they're not always not in your favor. So yeah, we got a max elixir there. So that is exactly, you know, a max elixir from the main series, where it restores all of your PP for every move. If you use it. They're as valuable, if not more valuable, than Reviver Seeds. You'll want a few of those when going into the longer dungeons. And you want to conserve PP as much as possible, because max elixirs aren't super rare. You know, they're uncommon. You don't find them often, but, you know, still, just in case you can't find any, hold on to them. Anyway, another one of these dream sequences. This signifies plot. Again? Am I dreaming again? Is that Pokemon again? Huh? They're talking to me. I can't hear them clearly. What are they saying? Huh? It's shaking. An earthquake? It's getting worse. For a dream, this feels strangely real, but... Back to bed. The next morning. Hello? Hello? You are Whitey, aren't you? Oh, you can't see us, of course. How very rude of us. Doug Trio. Pleased to meet you. We are Doug Trio. Last night during the earthquake. Our child Diglett was attacked. He was whisked away to the peak of a tall mountain. We couldn't possibly climb somewhere so high up. That is why we must call upon you for help, Whitey. Diglett was abducted by a Pokemon named Skarmory. It's a vilely vicious ruffian. Please, we need your help. We must go. That was so sudden, there was no time to even say no. It's too bad, I better go. Anyway, yeah, to save you go back onto your bed, and it lets you save. Can't save anywhere, unfortunately. I don't understand why. Good morning, Whitey. Huh? You just asked to go on a rescue mission. Oh, you can quick save in dungeons, so that's pretty good. Good for handheld play. Child Diglett was kidnapped. He was taken to Mount Steel Summit. Prepare for a lot of Mount such and such names in this game. Okay, let's go. So yeah, as I was saying with the type, or the types that you happen to get earlier, if you get a fire type, then lucky you, because most of the dungeons in the game aren't really too bad when it comes to, or they don't. There's nothing really bad for fire types to go into this game. The most I can think of is like a few rock types in one dungeon. You know, most of the time there's going to be grass types, there's going to be flying types, which, you know, aren't really too bad for you. Or hell, even a few, you know, like steel types that we're about to go fight, or electric types, or ice types. You know, we either are well off against them, or they don't do much to us. So yeah, we really don't have to. You don't have to worry too much if you're a fire type. And there's two fire-based dungeons. Also, this is the Makuhita Dojo, which you go to train. Unfortunately, it's just better off to go to the most recent dungeon you were in to train, unless you're in the post-game, which there is quite a lot of. Yeah, if you happen to get a fire type, lucky you. They're pretty easy to get through the game with. Oh yeah, another Pokemon you can get is Machop. In Red Rescue Team at least. I don't know about Blue, but you can get Machop. Which isn't exactly great because there's a lot of flying types. But I mean, it's you know, it's not too bad. What else? Oh, Pikachu. If you end up with Pikachu, then that's also pretty lucky because, you know, there's a lot of flying types, and if you have electricity, you can take them down pretty easily. There's a few ground types around, but yeah, that's it. There's only a few ground types around. Other than that, nothing has a weakness on you. So that's pretty lucky. I can't think of what else you can get, but if you get Eevee, then I mean, there's nothing that... There's not really any fighting types in the main story, at least, that I can think of. There's one. That's a boss. Anyway, so yeah, you'll see that a lot. Me preparing to go to a dungeon, then saving, then going to the dungeon. Off to Mount Steel. Here we are, Mount Steel. So Diglett was whisked to its peak. That's right. The peak is the 9th floor. Thank you for helping. Farewell. Let's go. Yeah, so 9 floors. It's not super short, but there you go. Also a warp orb, you use it and it'll warp you to a random spot on the floor, I think? I'm not sure. It's not very useful. None of the orbs are really useful in this game. But yeah, I find it really helpful when they give you, at the start of a dungeon, one character, or, you know, through some means or another, they tell you how many floors there are in the dungeon. So there's 9 this dungeon. It's just very useful because, you know, starting from now there's going to be boss fights. Usually there's going to be boss fights at the end of dungeons on the top floor. Oops, bump the mic. And, you know, if you can prepare for that, on, say, you know, there's going to be a boss fight on the 9th floor. Then, you know, we prepare on the 8th floor before we go up to the 9th floor. So, yeah, it's just very useful to know. And they don't always, sometimes they tell you how many floors there are, sometimes they don't. And there's no real warning, as you've seen so far, as to what floor will be the final floor. So, yeah. But because I've played this game before, very recently at that, or my second playthrough very recently, I just looked up, or, you know, whenever I couldn't remember how many floors the dungeon had, I would just search it up, just to help better prepare myself for a boss fight. Henry hits level 10. Just for a bit of guidance, by the end of this game you should be about level late 20s, early 30s, I'd say. That's a good area to be in. Granted, at that level, the game will still challenge you a bit. It'll keep you on your toes. This game isn't brutally difficult, like I remember it being when I was much younger. Granted, though, it's not easy, but it's not too bad. It's certainly manageable. You know, as long as you just pay attention and just think about what you're doing. You don't have to strategize too much, but as long as you just think about things before just jumping straight headfirst into them, you'll be fine. I still haven't. I'm going to replay Explorers of the Sky soon because I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say is I don't remember much about that game either. I did remember more about that game than I did of this one before replaying this one recently. I just remember that PMD2 had an amazing story. This game has a pretty good story as well. Fantastic soundtrack and great gameplay, and it was difficult. I remember it being difficult as well. Other than that, I remember the room where you sleep in. I remember the fact that there's a Wigglytuff, or that leads the whole sort of clan that you're in, sort of rescue team base that you're in. I remember you get more inventory space. And I remember there being a Chatot, and I remember being a Piplup. I think it was a Piplup. And my partner was a Cyndaquil, and that's all I remember. And it was Cyndaquil because, of course, it's Cyndaquil. Typhlosion is my favourite Pokemon. As for other than that, I don't remember anything else. I remember the final dungeon, and the final boss fight, and how difficult those were. But that's it. Oh, and how useful XI seeds were. So, yeah, I'm excited to replay that soon. It should be pretty fun. But, yeah, anyway, we're only on the 3rd floor of Mount Steel. For the first few dungeons, I'm sort of deliberately avoiding the stairs and just exploring everything on the room, just to not only explore and see if I can find any good items, but to also see if I can get some experience out of fighting more enemies. So, yeah. Anyway, oddly enough, Zigzagoons seem to be the worst enemy to deal with in this dungeon so far. Here I'm letting Henry do a bit of fighting. Also, keep in mind, your partner will always, just about always, be weaker than you. As in, they'll be able to take less punishment. They will... they do about this, you know, as good as damage as you. But they usually just have lower defense. Not stat-wise, but they just seem to take more damage. Is the thing. So yeah, on my various playthroughs of these games, that's one thing I always notice. So most of the time, you're the one who's going to be doing the fighting, just because you can take a beating and you always get the heads up on an enemy, and you can actually decide what you're going to do. So with your partner, you don't always get to decide what they do.